man, this movie is fucked up. I really hope I don't lose any subscribers because of this episode. Hello and welcome to Sci-Fi-Night. I'm your host, Sebastian Vendel Martinez, and this is the show where we check out some of the lesser-known sci-fi and horror movies out there and let you know what to expect from them. So, in this episode, we're getting controversial as all hell. So, remember how in the last episode of Sci-Fi-Night I said that we'd be reviewing another Lucky McKee film? Well, here we are. The 2011 film The Woman is I'm not really sure, horror, drama, thriller, exploitation, critique of society, maybe? I don't know. It's a film that's hard to define anyway, and it's based on a book by Jack Ketchum. It's directed, obviously, by Lucky McKee, who has quickly become one of my directors to keep an eye on. As many of you know, he directed the excellent 2002 horror drama May, which we covered in the last episode, and basically, you guys will probably see his name pop up in the future. The film stars Angela Bettis, who we also saw in the last Lucky McKee film, Sean Bridges, and Pollyanna McIntosh, who some of you might have seen in the horror film Let Us Pray. So while the last episode's film May was a little hard for some to like because of its unusual structure, The Woman is hard for people to like for completely different reasons. Yeah, this film is dark, it's rated R, and it's hard R for, let me quote, strong bloody violence, torture, rape, disturbing behavior, nudity, and language. So this is definitely not a film for everybody. So, despite all those elements, this actually isn't really a trashy exploitation film.
Surprise, motherfucker!
There's some real smart stuff involved here. So this film is obviously very controversial, but we need to get to the plot to explain why. The film follows what is on the surface the perfect American nuclear family, where father knows best and everything is clearly black and white.
Have you ever known me to let things get out of hand?
One day while out hunting, the father discovers a feral, wild woman living in the woods. He captures her and decides that she will become the new family project so that they can all take part in civilizing her.
What are we gonna do with her?
I'm gonna train her, Brian. Civilize her. Free her from herself, from her baser instincts.
Alright, so I can't really put 62 quotation marks around the word civilized, but basically, we start questioning who actually is more civilized than the other. So I'd rather not go too deep into the plot after that, but basically we slowly start finding out more about the family and how seriously fucked up they are.
Do we really get to keep her?
We do.
So like I said, this film was very controversial when it was first released. Like, people were upset. And honestly, I can kind of understand why, even if I don't really agree with them. When The Woman played at the Sundance Film Festival, people were angry. Like, there were even people who stormed out of the theater and called for the film to be banned.
Show respect to the artist who's here.
He's not an artist, he's an asshole.
Show respect to the artist who's here. It's sick.
If anything, this probably just helped the film get publicity and notoriety, which, in all honesty, is the best kind of attention you can get for a movie.
You'll see. Trust me on this one.
So before we move on to what to expect of this film, I really just want to address one of the major points of the notoriety, which is that it's degrading to women. Now, while there is some really horrible stuff that happens, and a lot of it to women, that's not really what it's about, and I think some people are kind of misunderstanding the motivations of the movie. Alright, so let me explain why I don't really see this film as being exploitation. In the movie, we come across many female characters in this American civilized society who ultimately are the victims of a patriarchal hierarchy. It doesn't matter that they're civilized and have so-called equal rights, but doesn't mean they're treated equally in practice. The husband is the one in control, and his wife seems to be more and more helpless to resist him.
Do you really think we should be doing this?
The oldest daughter is having trouble in school, but can't talk about her problems due to fear of what society and her family will think and say. The family's son is showing alarming signs of aggression, sexism, and even psychopathy, but everything gets brushed off as boys will be boys, as they say.
No one was hurt. He's a boy. He's an adolescent. Adolescents have urges. Boys will be boys.
Once more, this film isn't about vilifying men, but, to quote the director himself, it's about the horrors of misogyny.
Do you think I would really be stupid enough to just expose to the world that I'm a misogynist and just say, "Oh, look, look everybody, look how much I hate women"? Do you think that an intelligent person would do that?
Many of the women in the family in the story are trapped in their roles and helpless in opposition to the males in their surroundings. The film shows how constricting and horrifying gender roles can be and how dehumanizing we can become when we start separating and segregating people for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's the horror of misogyny, I mean, that's a scary thing, that there are men out there like that. That doesn't mean I condone it, it just means I'm showing it.
The wild woman, on the other hand, is completely free from social constructs and restrictions. She's independent, smart, and when she's not chained down, she's actually stronger than most of the men in the film. So like I said, this film doesn't say that all men are evil and all women are helpless victims. It shows how social constructs can make us into both monsters and victims. I mean, the real villain here is misogyny and segregation. So, with all that out of the way, what should you expect from this weird movie? Horrible, bloody, evil things. So, no matter the philosophy and ethics in the story, there's no dancing around the fact that this film is extremely brutal. There were parts that made me kind of uncomfortable, and I'm used to violent, bloody horror films. Gorehounds might be satisfied, but let's face it, this isn't really a film that's about brutal violence. It's about the reasons behind it and the human psychology that drives it.
Don't look at me like you're jealous. This has to be done.
Though that doesn't change the fact that this is a very bloody film.
Please, maybe excused.
Great talent. If you're squeamish, then it won't come as any consolation that all the violence in this film is extremely well shot. The effects are great, the acting is top-notch, but most of all the writing and directing is spot on.
Too good.
The contrast between the women and the different family members, the editing, the shots, everything is so well done.
Great, everybody. It's teamwork, okay? Everybody did their part.
Some people didn't like the soundtrack, and I can kind of get why, but personally, I didn't mind it.
It's okay, thanks for trying.
A love it or hate it film. I can praise this film all I want, but it's still a very polarizing film that probably will divide people.
I don't think that's a very good idea.
For some, the violence will be too graphic and the themes too dark to get past. All the same, you'll have people like me who will love it for its unusual style and content, as well as its social message that is unfortunately far too relevant in today's society. Whether you love it or hate it, I understand both sides, just as long as those sides can understand each other.
Is everybody okay with that? Everybody okay? Yeah? Okay.
So obviously this isn't a film for everybody. If you want a dark, horrific tale about the horrors of misogyny and segregation, then by all means check it out. But if you don't like graphic horror, then this is definitely not for you. So obviously I really liked this film. It just totally worked for me, even if it did make me uncomfortable. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really well made, and I just hope people can see the message behind all the violence and gore.
This is our project, and it's a secret one.
So that about does it for this episode of Sci-Fi-Night. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, you just leave us some comments below letting us know what you think of a movie of a woman, this episode, and future films to bring up in other episodes. So as always, I'm your host, Sebastian Mendel Martinez, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Before dinner?
Yes, before dinner, Peg.
Why?
Because your dad asked you to. You don't have a problem with that, do you, Brian?
No.